Welcome to the Catalyst Sale Podcast. Many of us struggle with sales, whether it's from confidence, comfort, and just not wanting to be salesy. We want to help our customers. We know we can, but we complicate the process. This podcast is designed to help professionals like you improve at sales through process, practice, frameworks, and thinking differently about what you already know. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and back with us, as he is every week, the founder of Catalyst Sale, Mike Simmons. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Jody. How was Christmas?
Christmas was great. It was different than most years because it was just us, as it was for Thanksgiving, which typically isn't the year, but 2020 wasn't like most years.
2021 is here.
It's here, which brings us to an episode that Mike loves to do every year, and it's about starting the year off right. And Mike, I think this year is probably more important than past years for this episode because we were disrupted a little bit in 2020. And I know a lot of us want to get back on track. Things are starting to look positive. They think the economy, depending on who you talk to, but the economy is going to be opened up again in June, that things are going to be back to normal. So I think a lot of people are thinking vacations, work. All right, now I'm back on track. I want to get some stuff done. But, you know, people set goals or resolutions this time of year. And we're right about at the point where Mike puts his arm on your shoulder and says, how'd that work out?
It is, it's absolutely awesome. You think about it, when we were together in March in Orlando, when a lot of this stuff started going south from the perspective of things starting to shut down and realizing that, hey, things were going to change. There was going to be a fair amount of disruption. And one of the things that people cannot disrupt for you, no matter who they are, they cannot disrupt the attitude that you take, the effort that you put forth, the attention you use when going in and actually doing work. Like, you control all of these things. There are certain things that are absolutely inside your control. Your attitude, your effort, your initiative, the work that you do. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that's outside of your control. And you know what? If 2020 is any example of things being outside of our control, then it is a perfect example of things being outside of our control. Everybody will have an agenda. Other people will put forth their own initiative. A lot of people will work to take care of themselves. You've got to take care of you. You've gone through this process of putting together some New Year's resolutions. And by this point in time, 12th of January, there are some that you're going to look back at and you're going to say, you know what? I'm not eating as well as I said I was going to eat. I made it to the gym for 7 days in a row. And then on day 8, I decided to sleep a little bit longer. I started the year trying to be like Jody Mayberry and get 10,000 steps a day. And last night it was raining and a lot of stuff came up and the kids were busy. All this stuff kind of comes up and now I'm not on 10,000. I've broken the chain, whatever that is. Don't worry about it. Don't get stressed. Life happens. Stuff is going to happen to you. You get back on that horse, so to speak, and start doing the work again. You decided that you're going to go on a diet. You decided you were going to get 10,000 steps. You decided you were going to do X amount of activities each day relative to your business for a specific reason. Go back to the why behind that decision and start executing again, or reevaluate why you are not staying on task with those things and determine, does it really matter? It doesn't matter that you get 10,000 steps a day. It doesn't matter that you eat clean every day of the week. Does it matter that you get 7.5 hours of sleep? Does it matter that you pick up the phone and call 3 people that you haven't spoken to in the last 6 months? Because if it doesn't matter, then be okay making the decision to cut that out of your plan for the year and move on to something else. Because there's no shortage of good things that you can do to move your business forward, move your life forward, move yourself forward. Find those things that matter and do the work that matters. So if 12 days in and you've not stayed on top of things, maybe you've had a drink, you said, I'm going to go sober for the entire month of January. You've already had a drink because you're hanging out with a bunch of people at the house or just had a rough day or whatever happened. Know that you can always start over again. That January 1st date is just an arbitrary date in the calendar that people connect things to. that folks go out and sell a goal setting and execution course around like somebody over at Catalyst sale. They go through and they tie into these specific dates, and all they are just time stamps on a calendar. Keep moving forward day after day after day.
One thing that comes to mind, Mike, is if somebody hasn't made it this far, sticking to a goal, part of the problem is using the calendar as a catalyst for why you need to make a change. That it's a new year, it's time for a new me, and I'm going to do this. It usually doesn't work. It's rare to find a person that made a New Year's resolution and then that had a drastic impact. But if someone had signed up for the Catalyst Sale game plan, for example, they would be 12 days into a 15-day goal setting process that would have a lasting impact.
Ideally, but you just have to do the work. And the reason it's 15 days is to build a daily practice, build that habit, build that consistency so you don't fall short. Jody shared this before. What's the average number of podcast episodes that go out before a show cancels or show stops recording?
7.
So think about that in the context of goal setting and execution. It's easy. It's pretty easy to do something 7 days in a row. Day 8 becomes a little bit tougher. Day 9 becomes a little bit tougher. Things start to come up. You start to get complacent. You start to lose focus. So habits, depending on who you read, can take anywhere from 14 to 22 days. And again, it just depends on who you read and what somebody is selling out there. I made this a 15-day program to break through the 14-day period and just demonstrate that you can do something for a 2-week period if you set your mind to it and you build that practice and you build that kind of resilience in doing it. But yeah, if you stopped, if you failed, know that it's okay and you can just pick it up again. Nobody's paying attention right now. I mean, there's not a lot of other people who are worried about what you're doing relative to your goal. You should be worried about what you do relative to your goal. There might be some other people who are going to be positively impacted by all the cool things that you're working on, but focus on you. Just get the work done that you can control. And you can control, just like we talked about earlier, attitude, initiative, effort. These things are all inside your control.
I hadn't heard you say that in a while, Mike. I like that. That attitude, effort, attention. That to me, that's really powerful because that's all you can control. It reminds me of the book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl.
Concentration camp. And he saw what made the difference to people. And the difference was the ones that survived did so because they controlled only what they could control.
Yeah. And a lot of those stories, and I think this gets covered pretty well in Man's Search for Meaning. It's been a while since I've listened to it, read through it, but yeah, there are a lot of people who are really optimistic about everything, and they just look at everything with rosy colored glasses, and they say the whole world is just great. And again, optimistic. They've got music playing in the background. It could be carnival music. It could be fairy tale music, whatever it is. They've got some kind of thing going on in the background, and they're really optimistic. The challenge is things will get tough. No matter who you are, you're going to go through some level of pain. You're going to go through some level of challenge. There's going to be times when you take a look at the bank account and there's not as much money as you thought was supposed to be in there, or you're running late to a meeting, you turn on your car and, oh no, you've got to stop by a gas station because you just didn't make sure your tank was full the night before. Things are going to happen. The challenge is maintaining a level of resiliency and continuing to move forward, compartmentalizing and moving forward, being really deliberate about knowing those things that you can control. I can't control if a bird drops his business on me while I'm walking down the street. I have no control over that. I just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I move forward. There's some cultures where I've heard that that's good luck. I have no idea what culture might say it's good luck. Somebody could let us know. Just go to @CatalystSale on Twitter and let us know which culture looks at a bird pooping on you as a sign of good luck. I don't know what it is, but I've heard that someplace, some way, shape, or form. The thing that helps me though, and this is a quote we've talked about a number of different times. It's the Admiral Payne quote: "Do your best and forgive yourself." Go out there and just do your best and forgive yourself. Things are going to happen. Things are going to get in the way. But if you can maintain the course, maintain that level of resiliency, and keep taking those incremental steps forward, be shocked at what you can accomplish.
A quick side note, I was with Scott Barlow, the host of Happen to Your Career podcast. We were walking in downtown Port Townsend, and a seagull perched on the roof of one of the historic buildings in beautiful downtown Port Townsend just nailed him. I have never seen such a direct hit when it comes to getting pooped on by a bird. so bad he had to go back to his van and change his clothes, and he didn't have another shirt, so he had to just wear a jacket. And if you happen to listen to Happen to Your Career with Scott Barlow, just know that happened. And Scott doesn't know I'm telling that story, but oh my goodness, it was noteworthy. I've never seen one that was so remarkable in the way that I'm remarking about it. Because normally it's just like, oh, that guy got pooped on by a bird. But this one was remarkable.
That's awesome.
Way off topic, perhaps not even appropriate for the conversation, but there it is. It just showed up, just like getting pooped on by a bird.
Stuff happens.
Yes, it does. Okay, Mike, let's say we're in that position. We're 12 days in to the new year. We set some resolutions. We've broken them already, but you've provided the encouragement, and we say, okay, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to end because I messed up or didn't stick with what I said. I want to get back on track. What do we do next?
Yeah, I would just go back to that why discussion. And I know Simon Sinek has his video and his TED Talk and Start With Why, and there's the book. And yeah, so you know, read that stuff, listen to a podcast where he talks about it. There's more than enough content about how important understanding that why is. Just go back to that why and say, one, has it changed? Because there's a lot of times where we say we're going to do things because we think they're important and we think they're going to have an impact. But once we start doing them, we realize it didn't help me feel better. It didn't really have an impact. It didn't help me move things forward, or my priorities have changed. So if that why is still the same, just get back and start doing the same stuff that you said you were going to do. Start again tomorrow. That's the awesome thing. The sun will always come up. The sun will always come up. Even in a year like 2020, every day the sun came up. Every day was a new day. Every day was a new day.
There were some days up here in the Northwest where I couldn't confirm the sun came up, but it wasn't as dark as it was at night, so I assume it did.
Yeah, so it happened. Like the day turned over. So even if you can't see the sun, let's imagine you can't see the sun. You live up in Alaska and you're in the middle of winter and you can't see the sun. You can at least look at your watch and see that the day turned over from one day to the next. So the day turned over from one day to the next, and you start with a clean sheet of paper. I think Steve Anderson highlights this relative to Amazon in the Bezos letters. Every day is day one. I think every day is day one. It might be every day is day zero, but whichever one it is. And we'll include a link to that podcast episode because that was an awesome conversation. And that book is phenomenal on how he pulled together concepts from the Bezos letters. Every day is day one. Start over, start moving forward, build the next chain, and take some time though, as you're doing that, reflect back on what were some of the things that got in the way. Was it because I didn't go to sleep early enough? Was it because I allowed myself to get consumed by email? Was it because I didn't block the time in my calendar? Was it because, and as you go through those was it because type scenarios, you do your root cause analysis on where the failure happened, do your postmortem on where the failure happened. We've talked about these things before too. And Jen's going to love this because I'm going to say we'll include links in the show notes, and she's putting together the show notes. Now she's got to go find the links for this to go in the show notes. But go through, do the root cause analysis, do your postmortem, and then start moving forward again.
That makes me want to just bring up something so obscure and then say, we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And then Jen will have to go find it.
Jen has a dartboard in the house. I won't tell you whose picture's on the dartboard.
Well, the last thing I will add, if you're 12 days into the year and have moved away from your resolution, or let's just call it a goal, figure out again, what was your goal solving the right problem? Because if you do what I do, 10,000 steps a day, that was your goal, which by the way, in March, 5 years, 10,000 steps every day. The goal for me was not 10,000 steps every day. That's what it turned into. And that's what we talk about. The goal for me was movement because I just got tired of sitting around all the time. It had just been a tough winter, and it was now the weather had been getting better. And I said, I just want to get out and get moving. That's all I was trying to solve. Now it turned into 10,000 steps a day for 5 years, but it makes me wonder if I had started out saying, well, I'm going to do 10,000 steps a day because I said I'm going to, would I have kept with it for 5 years? But because the goal was movement and to just get outside and be moving around, it kept me going all this time.
So here's the obscure podcast link. There was one point where we talked about this, where I made some comment about how I stopped the 10,000 step thing. And the reason I stopped the 10,000 step thing is it was just getting in the way. It was getting to the point where at the end of the day, I had not gotten enough steps in. And so I was spending time just before I was supposed to go to bed, walking around the neighborhood or even walking around the house. And I had the dog looking at me like I was half nuts, only half nuts because he knows I'm a quarter nuts. But he was looking at me wondering what is going on. And he would follow me around the house until the point where he was like, yeah, this guy's crazy. I'm not going to follow him around because it's just going to drive me nuts. But there was this period where I said it was actually distracting me and I cut that goal short. Feel comfortable cutting goals short if they're not actually helping you solve for the problem that you initially wanted to solve for, which is what Jody was talking about. And there's a number of different ways to do it. One of the things I went through is I said, I'm going to do a 5K per day, 5K per day. What does that mean? Well, 5K of rowing, 5K of walking, 5K of running, or if I run out of time, I can do a 5K on the bike. 5K per day still gets me to the 5K. It's not that I've got to walk the 5K or I've got to run the 5K. It's I can walk, I can run, I can bike. And that allows me the flexibility to adjust depending on an injury that happens. Let's say I tweak an ankle and it's going to be much easier or less disruptive for me to do the 5,000 meters on a rowing machine instead of walking. Or I tweak my back and I can go get the 5,000 done someplace else. But that 5K per day is a chain I can keep, but allows the flexibility of me iterating based on the thing that's in front of me. Let's say I'm traveling and I don't have access to the rowing machine. I don't have access to the bike. Yep, I can walk around, but maybe it's 5,000 skips on a jump rope because I can bring the jump rope with me. And I am certain that at some point we're going to be traveling again. And I'm optimistic that happens here in this year as we move forward.
All right, Mike, before I was going to wrap us up, but I want to say that one of the reasons I have to keep doing the steps now is past episode, we mentioned my nickname, Sugar J. It just has such a ring to say 10K a day with Sugar J. So I can't not do it now.
If you all could see my nonverbal, you would understand what I just did to Jody after this. And it's funny because at some point, we're going to go into the background of Sugar J. It probably has some radio DJ, some kind of thing back to it. Actually, why not? So, Jody, what's the background of Sugar J? Why Sugar J?
Well, now is not the episode for that, Mike. We're talking about goal setting and resolution. So you'll just have to hang out and wait.
You will have to wait.
You'll have to
well
wait.
Played.
All right, Mike, before we go, though, I think the game plan can help with this. Tell us where we can get the Catalyst Sale game plan.
Just go to catalystsale.com. If you click on courses and select game plan, it'll take you right to our Kajabi site, and that's where you can get the game plan. You can go directly into the course. It's $45 as of the recording of this. You just go there, and it's really simple and really easy to find. If you'd like to see just the framework, go to catalystsale.com/game plan and register there, and you'll get a view of the framework. And again, here's another show link. We'll add a link to the podcast where we talk about the game plan.
My face is now off the dartboard. Mike has given so many show links. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you for listening to the Catalyst Sale podcast.